Okay, we are now also recording.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm just going to allow a few more seconds for people to join this live stream. Thank you for those who are already here. It's really good to see you for our first Year 13 information evening of this academic year. This session will last around about 45 minutes. And is being recorded. So if you do have to nip out of it, or if you know of other parents or carers who aren't able to watch this live, you will be able to watch the recorded version at a later date. Okay, so as I say, welcome and thank you to everybody for joining us. I am Mr. Charlton, head teacher at Roding Valley High School, and welcome to everybody who's joining us today. This event really is just designed to help you go through some of those important details that you're going to need to know throughout the course of the year to help you have hopefully some informed conversation with your children. We're also going to share some really important details around the staff who are going to be supporting the Year 13s, who are going to be working closely with them, and give you hopefully some practical advice around revision, support, exams, key dates for the year, and important information about Year 13 as well. You will notice on that first slide, and I'll go back to it very quickly, that there is an option for you to send in any questions that you have to parentsforum@rodingvalley.net. If you do have a question about anything that I say or Miss Curling says, please do send it into that email address. We are monitoring it and we will be able to respond to you directly with any questions or queries that you have. Okay, so it is great to see you all here, and I'm sure that you have in the past been absolutely aware of our vision for the school, which is to be the school of choice in our local area. And we are delighted to say that within the next academic year, we will be fully, in fact, oversubscribed across the entire school. That's a new position for us as a school, and that really is testament to the outstanding work that's been done here over the past 7 or 8 years, but also to the really, really great exam results that we see in both Year 11 and Year 13. Our students did exceptionally well this year in both of those year groups, and we had Year 13s going off to study at various different places. We're delighted that one of our students was able to get a place at Cambridge to do medicine. We've also had students go off to the University of Warwick, of Leeds, of Bristol, LSE, in fact, all around the country, and that really is great. We have an outstanding careers advisor in school, Mrs. Mason, who's probably worked with your children in years 10 and 11 and possibly 12. She works really hard to make sure that all of our students get on that correct pathway, and she will be continuing to work with the Year 13 students this year. If you are not yet aware of the different options, I do urge you to listen carefully to what's being said tonight, but also to go and do your own research. For example, degree apprenticeships, which are becoming more and more popular, really are a fantastic alternative to standard university, and there are lots and lots of pros to consider when your child is thinking about next steps as well. It's probably snuck up on you the fact that your child is in the 7th and final year of their journey at Roding Valley High School. These things can come around really quickly, and actually what I'd like to say is that this year will also go very, very quickly. In terms of the number of days and weeks we've got left of this academic year, you're looking at around about 28, 29 school weeks until those exams begin. And that really is quite a short space of time. So every single minute, every single lesson will count for your child. We strongly encourage you to work with us in terms of attendance. We know that in Year 11, students with an 85% attendance tend to achieve, on average, 2 grades fewer than students with 95% attendance. And there is a similar correlation with Year 13. So please do work with the sixth form team and encourage your child to come into school at every opportunity. Our students, as I said, did do really well in the summer, and our Year 13's got some exceptional results. So we know that what we're doing really does work for them. If you've got any questions about anything that we talk about tonight and you don't want to put them through to the Parents Forum, please do contact Mrs. Curling separately, and she'll be more than happy to talk you through any of the information that we do go through. And also, if you need any support or any additional information that isn't covered tonight, again, let us know. We'll be more than happy to arrange a meeting to go through that with you as well. I'm now going to hand over to Mrs. Curling, who is the assistant head teacher. She's in charge of sixth form, who's going to talk to you in more depth about some of those things. Thank you, Miss.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving up your evening for this. We really do appreciate it. I know that last week we sent out the letter to invite you to tonight, and on it we did give a brief outline of what we're going to cover tonight. However, we think that these are the items that you are most interested in hearing about. But if there's anything that we don't cover that you really want to know about, please just let us know. Okay, we're happy to get in contact with just you. We're happy to, if it's not more, if something that actually all parents need to hear about, what we've not thought of, please just let us know. We really do think that communication is key, and there's no more important year than when your student is in year 13. So we really want to work together as a staff team, and you as parents, and keeping that communication going really, really well is really important to us. Now, I know that you're interested in this, and that our outcomes are obviously what all of our students are working towards, and all of us want the best for our students. This summer, we were very, very proud of our results. You already know we have that label from Ofsted as having an outstanding sixth form. Year 12 is our most oversubscribed year we've ever had. I think we had more than 470 applications, and we've given 126 places. Your students are in really good hands. You will have heard over summer lots of those headlines in the news, all about how grade boundaries were being tightened up, made tougher, brought in line with how difficult things were in 2019. That really is the most comparable year. In fact, a number of them were even tougher than they were in 2019, particularly subjects like maths and psychology. Now, that's not easy for our students to face, but we put them in a really good position. And as you can see there, when we compare to those most comparable years, we've done really, really well again. Now, at A level, the grades range from A star to E. So A star to C is what we're aiming for students to get a really solid pass. But D's and E's are considered passes at A level. There is no such thing as an F or a G. It goes from an E to a U. And then when it comes to our vocational, what we mean by that, that's our BTEC and CTEC courses. So we are largely an academic sixth form, but we do offer a handful of BTECs and CTECs as well. And on these, our progress is phenomenal. These are some of our strongest departments by progress. You'll see there that 93% of the students taking those courses got a grade between a distinction star and a merit. So we're really, really proud of that. Some of our students, and some of them you might recognise, went on to really, really prestigious universities. You'll see there are a number of students who got straight A's and A stars. In the picture in the middle there, you will see our head boy and head girl, and they both secured their places to study medicine. That's the first time for us at Rodin Valley to have students going on to study medicine. Very, very competitive degree to get onto. And I'll come back when I discuss UCAS, I'll come a little bit more to that process and what that includes. But really, really prestigious Russell Group universities year after year. And we want year 13 aiming for the stars. I held a huge celebration event in July on the back of their last set of PPEs. And we had 43 students in our year group of 130 who had achieved straight A's or A stars. And I want them aiming high with their university applications. There's no reason for them to be saying, oh no, that university is not for me. You don't know until you try, and we have 5 choices. So we make sure we advise them carefully. We make sure that we balance ambition with realism, but we don't want any student not having that sense of self-belief or not having that sense of self-confidence. And it's not just degrees that our students do well in. Apprenticeships, Mrs. Mason will tell you, are incredibly competitive now. And this is partly because a lot of them are degree apprenticeships, and degrees are very, very expensive. Universities haven't been allowed to increase their funding, their tuition fees for a number of years now, but their own costs, like everybody else's, have been going up. And that does mean that actually a lot of places for university are taken up by international students. Universities have become very competitive. For our domestic applicants from the UK, it's become a much more appealing option to have a company fund that degree. So we've got a number of students last year who went on to apprenticeships, and I've put the examples up there. But these are as competitive as getting a degree onto a prestigious degree course, if not more so. So very, very proud of them, and very, very grateful to Miss Mason, who is a fantastic careers advisor that we have in-house. What you see on the board is, on the screen, is a picture taken in our Brook Library. You may have seen it before. It's on our website in our sixth form area. Brook Library really is the heart of the sixth form. It's where students work very, very hard. We really have high aspirations for them. We want them to as well, as I've said. We want them working hard in that study centre, and we are committed to supporting them throughout that journey. This is our team who do that. So I'm Mrs. Curling. I'm the director of sixth form this year. We have Mr. Worry, who is the assistant director of sixth form, and he takes the lead on pastoral issues. We have Mrs. Mason, who's our head of careers. Most of her time is taken up supporting our sixth formers. They will have had contact with her earlier in the year. She does also run events for younger year groups, but most of the time her focus is on the sixth form. Miss Celias is who you'll be familiar with. She's our sixth form administrator, and she's your first port of call for any administrative correspondence that we need to have with you. That might be sending a doctor's note, for example, in regards to an absence, or something of that nature. Okay, trip forms, uniform forms, leave of absence requests, those kinds of things. Mrs. Parton is somewhat of a sixth form mum. She is always there in the Brook Library, supervising students, ensuring that they are studious, making sure they are applying themselves, working hard, keeping motivated, keeping quiet. But she really is there for them. It's a very, very nurturing environment. And then in the table there, in white, you'll see that we have 6 form groups. And that means that the form groups are a little smaller than they were between years 7 and 11. So our form tutors are known as academic mentors. They are the students' first port of call. We always say to them, you don't have a mum or dad in school, but you do have your academic mentor. That is the first person we want them to feel safe discussing things with if they need to, but also that person knows them best. Most of those have been with them since the start of their sixth form journey as well. And it's them that will help them proofreading their personal statement. And actually, for those who are early applicants, that's already taken place. Those form tutors are there ensuring that the reference from each subject area has been collated, consolidated and brought together in one reference that really reflects your child. And because they know them so well, they are the best placed person to do that. If you have a subject concern, you should direct it. If there's a problem in English, English homework, BTEC, whatever it might be, do get in touch with that teacher specifically. If it's more of a day-to-day thing, you're a little bit worried that actually they're a bit under the weather, not so much so that you can't send them in. Perhaps their form tutor, their academic mentor needs to know about that. If it's an attendance issue, you want to give a reason for an absence, you want to let us know about a punctuality issue, like, a valid reason for lateness, that's Miss Celia's, but use sixth form office at roseandvalley.net. I know you'll be familiar with that by now. Mrs. Mason is our dedicated career support. I am there as your academic progress. That's my focus, their academic progress. So if there's a concern actually, and it goes beyond one subject, you're worried they're not coping with 4 subjects, for example, you're worried that taking on the EPQ was too much and actually they need to go down, they need to reduce their workload, or just an academic concern about a piece of coursework that actually it's affected academic performance across the board, across subjects, something along those lines. Okay, more than just one subject, or changing subjects, but that's too late really at this point in year 13. Mr. Worry is our first port of call for pastoral concerns. He is our safeguarding lead as well. He is DSL trained, so he takes the lead on those wider issues or behavioural issues. If there's a pattern of poor behaviour, for example, that would be Mr. Worry, who would be the one you would expect a call from, who you would expect to, be having your student on reports, though we only have a handful in that situation at the moment. The only thing I will say here is just please be mindful that many of the team, they are classroom teachers, they are teaching their lessons, and we do encourage wherever possible. Obviously, we want them to devote their time to their classes. We want their attention to be on the teaching and learning and on the students in front of them. So they may not always respond to emails as quickly as you might expect if someone was at a desk-based job. So please do just bear with us while we try to always get back to you as quickly as we possibly can. And if there is a slight delay, it is simply just because they are in the classroom a lot of the time rather than being at their desk. Okay, and academic expectations. Your sons and daughters will have been in the sixth form for some time now. We do need our sixth formers working very, very hard to fulfil their potential. Okay, they all have their targets. We expect them to be working to the best of their ability. They've been schooled and well drilled in the expectations of the sixth form by now. These should be a habit to them. Now, year 12 to year 13 is as much of a challenge as GCSE to A-level in many cases. We find particularly with sciences, for example, the transition between year 12 and year 13 can be quite difficult. Equally, if the student is doing really, really well in year 12 content, sometimes that helps year 13 content to just click. It's about having those conversations with your child. How are they getting on? What could you do best to support them? Have they noticed a difference in the level of challenge in the work now that they've come into year 13 and they're doing year 13 content? All of those conversations are really, really invaluable, and making sure that they are staying on top of their homework as well. Most students only have 3 subjects. We have a handful that are studying for 4. We expect the students to ensure that they are completing their homework. Homework and classwork, though, is not enough for the A's and A stars. So a student will be able to do their 2 to 3 hours of homework for each of their subjects within what you see on the screen there as blanks. Now, we don't call those frees, we call those supervised study sessions. But in those supervised study sessions, if every subject is setting 2 to 3 hours of homework a week, they'd be able to do that in school time. But students who do the best will also be doing 1 to 2 hours of work at home on top. So we recommend that they are using their time wisely, and we see some of the students either marking on their timetable which subjects they're going to be using each of those study periods for, or we see them actually recreate whole new revision timetables, focusing on those areas where they've got that free time and including in it a PM session where they know they're going to do an hour or 2 at home. But it is a stressful time of year. And what we need to be mindful of is we don't want the students to be overwhelmed. It's about getting that balance right between managing their time and ensuring that before they're going to bed in the evening, they are switching off. So as I said, if school were finishing at 3 and they'd worked all of those hours between 8:30 and 3 in school, there would be a need to do an hour or 2 more in order to get the highest grades. What we don't want is students getting overwhelmed because what they're doing is they're working 5 or 6 hours every evening on their academics, and it's the last thing they think about before they go to bed. Having that sense of planning out those evenings, being sensible about taking rest breaks, being sensible about doing something else between revision and bed, something like reading a book, something like having a bath. It's something that they enjoy. It could be going for a run if it's not too late, if it's not too dark. It's about making those choices so that there is an element of switching off. Year 13 can be a very, very daunting year for some students. Now, we've got a whole range of resources on offer for the students in order to help guide their revision. Now, what we don't recommend is block revision. So for any A-level topic, there will be any A-level subject, there will be a number of topics that they've studied. Sometimes these are called topics, sometimes they're called themes. You might hear your students calling them a theme. Now, rather than studying, we might study a whole topic at the beginning of year 12, and it takes 3 months to get through it. And then the student might think, right, I'm going to park that, and then I'm going to come back to that near the end of year 13. So there's been a whole year since they did any work on that. That's not what we recommend. We recommend using their PLCs. Now, PLC is a personalised learning checklist. It's a list. It might say topic 1 includes these 6 items, and it's formed using the specification. And what we say is, you might do the first of those 6 things on week 1. Week 2, you're going to do the second, and you're going to weave that in with other topics. That's called interleaving. And what that helps the student do is, first of all, the gap between the time they learnt it for the first time and the time they revise it is shorter. So it means they're more likely to be able to retrieve it from the front of their brain rather than the back of their brain. But also the practice of continually retrieving that information is what's going to help them retrieve it quickly in an exam scenario. So that's why we recommend this as a strategy. But that is just one strategy. And there's lots of information about how to do that on the sixth form revision microsite. The students know where that is. They are often using those resources already, but that's just one strategy. And the best advice to give to the students is to make sure they're reflecting on what is working well and what works for them. It's not necessarily that one student might really do well with mind maps and mind maps is the one strategy for them. Often a mix of strategies can work, but it's about being reflective about what's working. Phones are a big distraction, and it's a distraction that actually most of us and our generation did not face. Okay, we didn't have smartphones that were as interesting as the students have now, and it's really about getting the environment right as well. The phones need to be away. It's very easy to quickly hear a ping and then you've lost your trail of thought. Having the phone out of the way or on a different floor of the house, in a different room of the house for that set aside 30 minutes or 60 minutes really, really helps the students to ensure that they're getting into deep thinking. And what we see is that actually some students, and it can be so heartbreaking, we don't want anybody in this situation come summer. They say, but I did hours of revision. And actually the reality is when we watch them, when we watch how they study, they're sat with the computer in front of them, with their phone on their lap or in their pocket. And they do a little bit of work and they look at their phone. And sometimes they're only leaving a gap of 4 minutes or so between each time they look at their phone. It really is about the best support you can give to your child at the moment is ask them, how are you revising? Get them to talk about the how, not just the what. But how you, like, what did you do? Did you do a mind map? Did you do flashcards? Could I use your flashcards to quiz you on that? And it's about getting them to reflect on what's working. But phones are something that we didn't have as such a distraction. And it does put them at a disadvantage. So it's about being really strong with that. And hopefully some of them can be strong rather than you having to do it. I'll move on now a little to just talk to you about pastoral support and also pastoral expectations. We really want to be a supportive sixth form. It's a really kind, nurturing environment where the staff in the team really know the students well. Our pastoral care and safeguarding are exceptional, and we believe that crucial to that is excellent homeschool communications. As I've said, please keep in touch with us. We love to hear from you and we always hope to get back to you quickly. We really do try. There is financial support on offer. If you haven't already, it's never too late to pick up a form if you need one. There is eligibility criteria attached to that. But that said, if you aren't eligible for the 16 to 19 bursary, we also don't want funding to ever be an issue. So again, it's all about just talking to us, because if there's anything that's blocking success at A level, we'd want to do all we can to support that. Sir said at the beginning how important attendance is. There is a direct correlation. The higher the attendance, the better the outcomes. If you're calling to let us know that your child can't be in, please ensure it's not a minor sniffle. It needs to be, a real valid reason that child is not well enough to be in school. Lanyards need to be worn at all times. That is a safeguarding issue as well. they are dressed as adults, so we need to ensure they're not somebody on their way to Loughton Station who's just wandered into our school premises. So lanyards are an essential part of the uniform, please. If a student does arrive late, then we'll note them down at the late gate and they'll serve their detention. We're running that at lunchtime at the moment. It seems to be more of a deterrent. The students really love their lunch privilege. They love being able to go out to Loughton High Street to get their lunch. But, you know, punctuality is key, because period 1 is the time where we're going through personal statements, writing references, learning about sexual health, for example, as part of our PD curriculum. This really is essential time, so they have to be in form time and learning by 8:30 in the mornings. If you really can't, though, obviously we need that communication flowing, and Miss Sellies is always taking those calls and always picking up those emails. Please do just let us know. And where you've got documentation like medical appointments, for example, please do just share that with us so we can log it and make sure that that absence goes down as authorised. All of the rest, I think you know. And uniform expectations, please do keep things smart for us. We know that a really high standard of dress does correlate with a professional environment and, again, excellent academic outcomes. In general, our young men look really, really smart. They really are. You know, the uniform is a suit, and the boys wear a suit, and they wear a suit with a tie. The girls' interpretation of a suit tends to go a bit far-reaching, but in particular, we want to avoid skirts that are too short, because that's not professional or formal, and we want to avoid skirts made of stretchy fabric that can be see-through. It's an 11 to 18 school. We've got to remember that there are Year 7 students on the playground lining up with our sixth formers, and we want our sixth formers to look like role models. They're all being asked to wear their skirt to their knee, and our suits that our sixth formers wear need to be at least as smart, if not smarter, than the lower school uniform. It is under review, because I do think, obviously, that the ambiguity has not been helpful to you, and we have really listened to your feedback on that line there, professional and formal. You know, we don't want anything open to interpretation. So thank you very much to all of you who've given your feedback on that, and that ambiguity not being very helpful. Thank you for that. We also recognise that this kind of clothing can sometimes be really difficult to find, particularly for young girls. And also that it can be expensive. So a few of you have also said, could we have a little bit of time to just buy a few more items? It's not going to be on Monday, but could we have a bit of time? And of course, thank you so much for your support. And we fully understand how expensive these things can be. I already touched upon financial support, so I won't go into detail here, but the money can be used to fund anything that can justifiably be said to be supporting the education of that student. So that can include the uniform. It can include books, and textbooks for A-level tend to be about £30 for each of the year groups. I know the geography ones are £30 for the year 12 book, £30 for the year 13 book. These things are not cheap. So please do get in touch if you think you might be eligible and never filled out a form, and indeed, if just you need to speak to us because there's something that's creating a blocker. Okay. Lots of the students have a job. Brilliant. So many positive benefits of that. Really, valuable experience for them. Gives them something else as well to be talking about in those personal statements. But please ensure they're not doing any more than 8 hours a week. The kinds of jobs they tend to do tend to be jobs that fall in the evening, fall at weekends. These are prime time for them to be revising and studying. And if we can ensure that at exam times, actually, we're having a few weeks off from work around that time, maybe a month or so, that's very, very helpful. Okay. And as I said, what we're aiming for here is the student fulfills their potential. They get the best outcomes they can possibly achieve, but equally that they don't get overwhelmed, because exam season is tough. And our young people, they went through more in the last few years than a lot of other 18-year-olds did before them. And we need to be mindful that if they're trying to do too much, they could get overwhelmed. So it's all about balance. So we recommend no more than 8 hours, please. There's lots on offer to the students, as you know, and actually with our students being here for us, I thought what you might most enjoy, obviously student leadership is one of our one of our great, we really enjoy appointing the whole student leadership team and really enjoy watching them take ownership in their new roles. It's a really lovely experience. But you know, you might enjoy seeing some of your children on the screen now. We have our student executive. FA is our head boy and Sky is our head girl. We also have 2 deputy head girls, Kira and Ruby. And then we have 1 deputy head boy who is Tuna. And actually 4 out of 5 of them are hoping to apply to Oxbridge this year. So that is fantastic and we wish them all the best. We have our house captains on the board, our 5 houses that run through year 7 to 13, that extra sense of belonging to the houses. These guys, 2 per house, they are again taking that lovely leadership role, and it's really lovely seeing them and the way that they interact with some of the younger students in school and really fulfill their new roles. It's really lovely to see. And our 6th form captains, a lot of these students applied for some of the other positions and actually did so well. They've taken on a role now of 6th form captains, where what they're doing is they're reflecting just on that Brook Library environment, about 6th form life. How would they like input on that? What would they do to change it in the future for future cohorts? It's really lovely to have them all on the team. Miss Mason is always available for careers advice, and as I said, we support the student whatever their post-18 choice looks like. So we want our students being ambitious, we want them being realistic as well, we don't want their hopes dashed, and we want to give them the best shot at achieving whatever it is that they want to achieve. Miss Mason does a fantastic job, particularly with individual meetings. So she will meet with the students individually, and she's started with all of those who are the least sure about what path it is they want to take, and she guides them towards some of the, you know, the most competitive options that there are out there. She's got a wealth of knowledge, and we do encourage our students to make good use of her. She follows with her curriculum something called the Gatsby 8, and you may have heard of that. The 8 elements of that are on the board at the moment, but you know, this is actually something that is, the students have been working towards this throughout their student life from year 7 onwards, but we're very proud that actually on the Gatsby 8 benchmarks, we're very high performing schools. So please make sure that the students are making very good use of Miss Mason. Her office this year has moved because of the closure of the building temporarily, which her office is now in the English corridor. The students have been told they should know where to find her, but she's not right next to us in the 6th form department for the short-term future. And having a look at this quote, she likes to quote this one, Miss Mason: employers look for young people who are rigorous, rounded and grounded with not only skills and knowledge, but also the wider behaviours and attitudes that are needed for success in life and work. We really love that mantra. You know, that nurturing environment is what we're trying to create, where we're getting our 6th formers really ready for their next steps. And it's so soon. For the year 13s, in the blink of an eye, it's going to be August, and it's going to be results day. And it's not just what's on that piece of paper that we've all been working towards, but it's actually every interaction. It's their professionalism in the way that they turn up to school on time. It's how they organise themselves independently, and how they overcome that stressful year in year 13. All of that is absolutely invaluable. And that's our goal, not just the overall attainment. We want to get them really ready for beyond 18. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit of detail here just for the next 5 minutes, because there are a few crucial dates coming up, and year 13s are now working on UCAS applications very actively. The dates for UCAS are in the very near future, so I want to just go into a bit of detail about some of these dates coming up. Many of the events on the screen at the moment, your children have already been involved in. So a number of our students went on summer schools, for examples. We've also already run the University of Kent trip. They already did their work experience. So much of this is not new news for you. But I want to skip just to spend a little bit of time focusing on this. And just as a reminder, this will all be shared. Tonight's session is being recorded. We are back from the summer holidays now. So we are at that green arrow at the bottom there. Personal statements, the first draft was due before they left for summer, and that should have been finessed, improved over summer. If it hasn't already, you're not out of time. Please do help them with that. Please read over it if they'll let you. Please help them to sell themselves. Some universities are spending less than 2 minutes reading each application, and the personal statement is the most important part of that application. For any students, you will see there is an early applicant deadline of 16th of October. We need to fully have checked the entire UCAS application twice, 2 layers of checking in school, and submitted by the 16th of October. That early applicant deadline is for anybody applying to Oxbridge, for medicine, for dentistry, or for veterinary. Those students will already have done the research about where they want to study, and they need to have registered for their admissions test if there is one for their subject. For example, if they are going on to study law, there is an ELNA, and they need to have registered for that. They have been reminded about this. They've been reminded in emails, they've been reminded by their academic mentors, reminded in assemblies, but it is worth you knowing that if they need to do an admissions test for their place at university, the deadline to register for that is the 29th of September. And that final deadline to submit for an early application is the 16th of October. So that is so soon. That's really not a lot of time. So please do help us to ensure they are ready for that. And otherwise, if they're not in one of those 5 categories for early applications, then the main UCAS deadline this year falls on the 31st of January. Okay, so we make sure that they are done and dusted, fully checked, gone through that double layer of checking in December, because we can't risk that any student is not ready to submit on time. So there will be an internal deadline for December for that. So this autumn term is very, very busy. And we do that intentionally. First of all, obviously, we don't want to miss the deadline. But secondly, we like to front load the UCAS application so that that is off the student's plate, so that in the new year, their focus is their subjects and their revision for their subjects. Okay, right now they're having to do a bit of juggling. We like this to be off their plate in the new year. And other options come later, and we will remind those about them. Things such as applying for student finance, very important. Okay, they will have 2 sets of PPEs this year. PPEs, just as a reminder, it's another way of saying mocks. And it stands for pre-public examinations, but it means the same thing as mock exams. And the first set is on the 20th of November. This will be slightly lighter touch than the real deal. So let's say, for example, they're doing a subject that in the summer, they will sit 3 exams that are 2.5 hours each. The mocks that are the 20th of November schedule, these are the mini ones. So it might well be that they will sit 1 of the 3 exams or 2 of the 3 exams, or they'll sit all 3, but the 3 will be shortened. It will vary by subject, but these are the mini PPEs. By February, we want them to have tried a full set. So the set of PPEs that start on the 26th of February, they are a full set. If it's 3 in summer, it's 3 then. If it's 2.5 hours, they're all 2.5 hours. And the reason for that is because we need to practice the exact exam scenario, and we need them to have that exam stamina and practice of what that paper truly looks like, familiarity, just so we're setting them up fully for success. So just a couple of dates for your diary, 2 more sets of mocks, and obviously following those, you can expect another 2 progress reports to be sent directly to you through EduLink. Okay, and again, much of that related to university, you have already heard about. I really hope that I have covered the main things that you would have wanted to ask about. I know that some of that is a slight repetition of the information evening in summer. So if you did attend both, thank you so much for being such a dedicated parent. We really can't thank you enough for your support. and just keep that communication open. We're doing our best to make sure that all of the students in year 13 feel fully supported and feel really ready come summer exam season. Thanks again, everyone.
Hello.
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 15.
Yeah, I saw. Have you stopped? Oh yeah.
I've stopped streaming.